idiot. You're an idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestler Review. To all of you who subscribe to our Patreon, we love you. You're helping feed Dylan's child and my addiction to OnlyFans. I don't subscribe to the sexual ones, just the ones where they show parts of their body that aren't sexual. Hello, Elbow Anna from Indiana.
Yeah, exactly. You can subscribe to a bunch of ones where lawyers talk about their clients, and then if you tell you their opening arguments.
For those of you listening, that cutout was Dylan's shitty Canadian Wi-Fi, because Dylan, and I'm quoting Dylan now, refuses to pay. He hacked into his neighbor's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's my neighbor's Wi-Fi. I figured out the password was only jacking off.
Yeah, the password was Toronto Maple Leafs Rule 69.
Incel.
It's what everyone's that's the username is Incel1.
Incel1. Password, no sex ever.
I'm currently listening to a podcast with the lawyer that sued Alex Jones over the Sandy Hook families.
Ooh.
And it is one of the best things I've ever listened to, because it's like, this is as close as we're ever going to get to Vince McMahon testifying, because it's someone who hates the world so much they built their own reality. For example, in the middle of his deposition, he was like, we in agreement we were going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. And the lawyer had to be like, at the end, I'll let you talk about Jeffrey Epstein, okay? And he was like, as long as that's our agreement. And he was like, now would you like to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, Mr. Jones? And he's like, I'm going to be the first one to say it. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And they were like, anything else? And he was like, that is all. And they were like, are you fucking kidding me, man?
Is that him trying to prove that he's insane? Because I heard that it was like, I don't remember. I had a lot of chili that night. Like, that was one of the things he said. By the way, my name's Dylan Gott. The other guy speaking is John Hastings.
My name is Alex Jones. I am Alex Jones.
Oh, sorry. My name is Alex Jones, and John's name is Alex Jones.
We
are Alex Jones. Your name is Alex Jones.
Yeah. Hello. You are listening to the Prison Planet. We are all Alex Jones. No. It's way dumber than that, which is he's trying to keep the narrative up on his radio show that all these lawsuits are from Hillary Clinton. So he was like, they won't let me talk about Epstein when I go in there. And then they're like, yeah, you can talk. It's the record. You can say whatever you want. We then just get to read it back to a judge. Also, when you're being sued, you can't be like, I'm insane. They're going to be like, okay, but then were you insane these 18 different times you said it and then made this amount of money more? And he was like, yes, I was insane. And they were like, if you're insane, then you're insane for everything. And then he's like, no, not insane. It's the best. It's so good. Here's the thing with right now is everything is going to get dismantled because Trump became the president, and everyone will be like, oh God, everything's too crazy, except for Vince McMahon. Bear in mind, the only man who wins out of the Trump presidency, Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon got his wife a job in the Senate, so she can't be like, Vince wants it you got to be the senator, Linda. Because he doesn't understand what politics are, and now he just gets to walk around being the happiest man in the world. My friend was the president. I'm the king of Peacock. Linda was a senator. Shane's dead. Stephanie married me. Oh, he thinks Triple H is him. He thinks Triple H is him. Triple H.
I had a heart attack. Oh no!
I worked so hard. I made a second one of me. Hello.
He's nuts. He's one of the funniest things because, like, if we think the wrestling WWE is like boring now, once full senility kicks in, is going to be.
Oh yeah. We're getting the superstar Billy Graham back. He's coming back. I watched the superstar Billy Graham Peacock documentary, and it's called 20 Years Too Soon, and it's called that because Vince McMahon appears in it so many times, and every time talks about how it was 20 years too soon. Dylan, you need to address your Wi-Fi issue because you're fully freezing noticeably.
Oh yeah, I'm turning on my mobile hotspot as we speak.
Sorry, buddy. I hate to be that guy. Sorry, little peek behind the curtain, guys. Dylan's Wi-Fi not great Wi-Fi. But you know who did have great Wi-Fi? Dylan? Do you know who had great Wi-Fi? Dylan can't hear me now. He's too busy. Dylan's not even paying attention to the show. He's watching. See you later. Ladies and gentlemen, Dylan Gott has walked off the show because he doesn't want to be here when we discuss today's subject. The subject today is, of course, Norman the Lunatic. That man had no more career past NWA. Of course, I'm joking. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about Mr. Mike Shaw. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Shaw.
Everyone knows him as Mike Shaw, by the way.
Everyone does know him as Mike Shaw. If you're a
Oh, you mean
wrestler,
Mike Shaw?
if you're a wrestler, for me, he'll always be Friar Ferguson. These are the following names he wrestled under: Aaron Grundy, Big Ben Sharp,
Aaron Grundy.
It gets so much better.
Fucking eat too many taquitos.
The last one's the best one. Bastion Booger, Cousin Mike. What the hell?
Mhm.
Friar Ferguson, Jed Grundy, Klondike
like
Mike, Mackin Singh. What the hell? Mountain
Singh.
Mike.
Wait a minute. You don't know about Mackin Singh?
No.
You don't fucking know?
I assume. Oh, is this when he was in the? Oh, he was in Global.
No, he was in
the
Stampede
GWF.
Wrestling, and his character was that he's from
No,
that he's,
you're incorrect. You're
he's
incorrect.
from
You shut the
Pakistan.
fuck up. You shut the fuck up. That's when he was the Great Gama Singh.
No, Mackin Singh.
Oh, no.
Was yeah.
The Great Gama Singh was his dad. He was bestowed the nickname Makam
Exactly.
Singh, and he formed.
Mackin Singh was the rebirth of Calgary, dude. His time in so. Bastion Booger, he considers his low point, or at the time of, he's passed now, but at the time of these shoot interviews, he considered Bastion Booger his low point. He thought Norman the Lunatic could have gotten more time.
We are not at Norman the Lunatic. There's Makam Singh, Mountain Mike, Mike Stryker, Norman the Lunatic, Norman the Maniac, Trucker Norm, William Danger, and here's my favorite one, Mike the Danger.
Oh my God, he's had 5 beers. He's going to tell you aggressively how to cook something, and if you cook it a different way, he's going to try and kick you in the ass even though his foot can't reach that high.
Don't eat those tenders. Don't eat those chicken tenders. The counter was not properly wiped. You may have been exposed to salmonella. Here is my manager, Teddy Long.
Eat chicken tenders like that's disgusting.
Yeah. Where's your napkins? Where's your goddamn napkins?
No, this is the real fun part about, dude. The Mackin Singh character is like, only in wrestling would a guy be like, the low point of my career was when my character was that I had a lot of boogies in my nose, not when my character was, I'm from Pakistan, even though I'm not exaggerating, he looks like me. He just looks like me with a beard, and he's like, I am from Pakistan. I do not have an accent.
That's actually not
from
even
Pakistan.
Fair, is Dylan, you were never... Dylan Gott was always, I had 2 sandwiches for lunch, big boy. He was never, I'm really sad, and the only thing that stops me crying is a sandwich made of coleslaw and donuts. And that, like, Mike Shaw was always like, oh, Mike, I'd give you a hug, but you're covered in butter. Like I'm not trying to fat shame. What it is it's so clearly this guy was just looking for a community. No, he was so clearly looking for a community. And as wrestling always does, it's like, you seem like a guy that's just trying to find friends. I am. Beat him up. Beat him up now. Hurt him.
This is the interesting thing I think about Mike Shaw is that he totally, to me, comes off of a guy. So we always use the example of like guys who didn't like wrestling, but then they ended up in WWE or or WCW or whatever because they're 6'5" and 280, and they just love exercise and steroids. Those are the guys we're used to. This is Mike Shaw, who gets into wrestling in 1979. He's a high school wrestling coach. Some guy just goes, "You should try wrestling." He has no connection to big time wrestling, so he has that climb up the ranks of just being a territory fat guy who can move really well.
He's a territory fat guy who can move crazy now.
Crazy now? What?
Like he can move, like he is a territory fat guy who can move super crazy. He's essentially the other John Tenta, but it's this weird thing of he just never gets lucky with who he works with or where he works. Yeah, because he's always like he comes into Stampede Wrestling in the 80s. Like it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like he started a disco band in the 90s. Like it's always like it was right place, literally the wrong time. Like it's like he would have been brought to the WWE in the mid 80s as a Hogan opponent if he was in Stampede Wrestling in the 70s. Instead, he's in Stampede Wrestling in the 80s, so he's brought to the NWA right when Jim Herd's around. And so his gimmick is he's got keys and he might have to go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. So he starts basically in earnest wrestling in 1980, NWA All-Star Wrestling. He's trained under Killer Kowalski and pretty much just a mild-mannered guy who won't refuse any character difference,
Yeah.
which is something
What he
I
is
love.
he's a man who worked in teaching in Michigan and probably rural Canada. So it's like, wait, you're gonna give me $1,800 and all I have to do is essentially hug Ludwig Borga? You got it, Vince. Like it's that one of those things.
Here's
where-
your character. Basically, you think you're a dog, but only the part where you eat dog food. Essentially, you just eat dog food and then someone punches you in the face. All right.
Basically, have you seen bum fights? And it's like, I have. And it's like, you know how they humiliate them before the fight? Yeah, just that. Oh, yeah.
So
Isn't
you're
this
right.
for
You ever
wait,
seen
wait.
Bang Bus? I've never seen it either, but here's what I think it is a
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
right, can't bring his tin cans on the bus. You trying to pay for a bus and tin cans, you get real upset. That's why you're wrestling.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello, my name is Vince McMahon. I just had a steroid trial, so I think I'm God. Your character is the living embodiment of farts, which I think is the funniest thing in the world. Hello, welcome to the company.
It is very funny where, like, and his Stampede character is like, hey, we don't know anyone who even tans even close to effectively, so your character is going to be, you're from Pakistan, and according to some old guys on a construction site, they don't like that country, so let's go.
Also, the thing that I can't stress enough, Mike Shaw seems very annoying and dumb as a guy.
Well, he's a high school wrestling coach. There's no worse people in the
Oh,
world.
he's a dick. Oh yeah, he's the kind of guy that,
Because he
like,
gets to kind of beat up the students. You know how every teacher is like, I wish I
Of
could beat up
course.
the students? He's like, oh, yeah? You think you're a little book reader just because you know what Lord of the Flies is, Chad? Well, look at now old Mike's guts on top of your back, just like
I'll
it'll
never
be
for-
on your mom's back when I'm fucking
I'm
her,
about
you
to
little
say
shit.
I'm about to say a sentence that should have been much more of an alarm raising, which was the girls' gym teacher at my high school was a guy named Dave with a mushroom cut. He was very he was very
15.
heavy. He was 17. He was very heavy.
He was 15.
He was 15. He was a year old. By the way, when I walked by him on 9/11, he said, yeah, so I heard a plane landed safely on top of the World Trade Center. And right there, I'm like, well, no one's ever gotten it more wrong. By the way, the reason why he thought that was, very briefly, the local news in my hometown, the capital of Canada, reported that as how 9/11 went, which you're like, you literally got it. You couldn't have gotten it more wrong, boys.
I love Ottawa.
It's like, yeah. Oh, that hurt. Ladies and gentlemen.
There's a crazy party down the street. I don't see anything happening. They're eating loud chips. Everyone knows you should eat chocolates because they're quieter so people can sleep. If you're eating Doritos, you should be jailed.
Excuse me, are you having O's Rest Ruffles outside on a Tuesday? I didn't realize this was fucking Mardi Gras. How about you eat my ass?
Oh, I love Mexican food. I've had Doritos twice. That's all I want.
Speaking of which, that's almost as good, except for the better thing was the email I got from a guy when I was emailing a bunch of comedy clubs desperate to find any place I could work when the world quickly opened back up in the spring. And this guy, this was the full email, I've committed it to memory. You would have been booked for a $15,000 gig if it wasn't for that F word. We have the heads of the Amish community here in Louisiana coming.
What?
They own the club. It's not even done. You'd be opening 10 minutes, $15,000, but not now because of that F word. And then I just
like that
Googled
the
it.
Amish community. I bet $15,000 in the Amish community just means like that's how much they think hay costs, and they were just going to give you a barrel of hay and be like, eat it. It's $15,000 worth of food.
This guy's, by the way, I Googled it. That guy, the club that guy was talking about, had closed 5 years ago. Oh,
I like that.
yeah, it's very good. And it's a glimpse of what the type of person Mike Shaw is dealing with. And if you're an alpha gym teacher where it's just like, wonder what I do? I make the girls do push-ups. I make the boys drink poison so they're all dead. You know what I mean? Like,
He's a high school gym teacher from Michigan, and here's the thing. Is he remembers his high school wrestling record, which is that's not a good thing.
Yeah, he definitely does. Like, this guy is Al. Imagine if Al Bundy joined the carnival. That's who Mike Shaw definitely was. Like, Mike Shaw definitely saw Missy Hyatt and then turned to Cactus Jack and went, ooh, I'm gonna steal the fucking seat of that chair. And then Cactus Jack was like, dude, just do what I do and marry a hot lady and then weirdly talk about how you help a suicide charity all the time.
So he goes into Stampede Wrestling in 1982. Exactly. This guy shows up just at the end of the Gold Rush. And then it's
Look at this tubby. Mike, you're lucky you weren't here in the 60s or I would have slit your throat and fed you to
like, oh,
me.
buddy, he loves Stu Hart.
Oh, it's also not a good sign.
Who are his favorite Hart brothers?
Smith and Buck Zumhoff Hart.
Almost. So his favorite Hart brothers, and I'm going to research here because I want to get this right. He wrestles Mike Smith to begin with.
Okay, first of all, he respected
Wayne?
Ross and Bruce.
Yeah.
No. Ross and Bruce, but he felt that Wayne Hart was the unsung hero. He also said Dynamite Kid was a really good guy. 100% not.
Because you know why? Because Dynamite Kid probably just didn't think he could beat up this guy who actually knew how to defend himself.
Yeah, no, it's insane. So basically, he's part of the rebirth of Stampede Wrestling, also known as Bruce Hart costing him his dad $100,000 a year. So basically, it was like, you can't run shows under the name Stampede Wrestling. I own that. And Stu was like, a couple of things. One of my lawyer is my wife, and my wife is a bird. Second of all, I agree. And then Bruce was like, no, I want to still have a wrestling company. And then Stu was like, I didn't really raise you, so I can't really say anything. And then he starts a wrestling company and costs his dad that. And then they were like, well, Vince wasn't going to pay. And Vince was like I wasn't, but you didn't know that at the time. So fuck you. Like, it's this is how annoying the Hart family is that they make me feel sorry for Vince McMahon. Like, they also were like, well, our brother's dead. We better sign with the company that brought him. Then they decide to be loyal to the WWF over Owen's death. They're so weird.
I guess my question would be, why isn't there a sitcom about the Hart family? Just one insane guy who's always like, oh, this is the guy who I have to try out for a job with. What's he going to... Oh, he's positioning himself behind me and refuses to start the job interview unless I completely submit to him. And now he's trying to kill me, but only because I've allowed him to. And then once they're in the submission hold, it's like, aren't I tough, huh? Now I get to whisper stuff. I'm filming this.
Internet thing that I want to eat here.
And then the other thing about Owen Hart, who obviously has passed away, so everyone looks on him very, very positively. But Bret Hart, there's a part in Wrestling with Shadows where he's just talking about how funny it is that Owen taped these guys screaming. He taped them screaming and would play it, and the entire that's the only thing that brought them together was like, haha, look at Daddy molesting this man. He's crying, and everyone's like,
it's because
we can all agree this is the only good thing we've experienced together as a family.
They're traumatized by the abuse that they felt from they're clearly 11 people that were alienated.
Don't make it not fun.
I am going to make it not fun. It's like, it's so clear. It's also clearly like every day they woke up and they were covered in piss, and Stu's standing there with his dick out, piss dripping from his weirdly large,
I guess it rained.
That was Bruce who pissed on you. Like, you know what I mean? He just turned them against each other. Here's the basic thing of, you can be around Stu Hart for a year, but if you're around Stu Hart for more than a year, you get really weird. Hence why Owen seemed almost normal, because there is no way at that point, being the youngest of 12, Stu did anything but say hello to Owen twice in his entire childhood. Like, it was twice.
The more you get away, the farther and farther you get away from the source, the better and better you are as a child. Who's the oldest?
Smith. And Smith refused to leave the house and was insane. Like,
Smith thinks that his house is a van. If I stay in the van, Daddy can't hurt me. Your dad's dead. No, that's what he wants you to think.
He's in the dungeon.
He's going to do the other type of stretching to me again.
Lance Storm. Oh no! Lance Storm tells the story of Smith Hart showing up once at his school with a shirt from a Value Village that smelled like cigarettes with the word "Storm" on it, and he's like, "I saw one of the shirts you sell at the Value Village, and I bought it for you." And he's just like, "This is just a fitness shirt that says Storm on it. I didn't make this." And he was just like, "Thanks, Smith," because like Lance Storm is like, why do I keep living in this town? They know where I am. Like, they are like, well, Daddy's dead. Let's go talk to new Daddy, Lance Storm. Just because I'm boring doesn't mean I'm violent. Stay away from me.
I have never, nor will I ever, with this exception, talk to someone who hasn't done their taxes every year on the date they're due, Smith.
Exactly.
So what you're going to do is walk out that door, and I'm going to try and erase this memory with exactly one sip of a Smirnoff Ice.
Yeah, you seem like exactly one slip. Do you want to know why I have Smirnoff Ice? You wouldn't expect it. It's whimsical. I like to be whimsical. Lance Storm Whimsy, they call it.
It's a feminine drink, and I am comfortable with myself, sir.
Yeah, you might think I'm one of those quote-unquote homophobes. Lord knows I've shaken a man's hand, left hand, and right. Also, fun fact, I have said I love you to my dad precisely 3 times. When it looked like the Toronto Maple Leafs were going to make the Stanley Cup Finals and then didn't, and I said I love you, Dad, to stop him from the weakness water falling from his eyes. Second time, moments after he was dead. Third time, no thank you.
So here's my favorite thing. 3 years. 3 years he's in the original Stampede Wrestling leading up to Stu selling it. And then, yeah, I promise I'll never have a Stampede Wrestling again. Then with the rebirth, the Stampede Wrestling, he became. Now keep in mind, he's been Mike Shaw, that fat guy who punches. And now he's 1985, the great Gama Singh. Sorry.
It's pretty
he's
good.
He was connected with the wrestler, the great Gama Singh. As you said, he was bestowed the name Makan Singh. His gimmick was a born-again Pakistani wearing a turban.
Also,
he thinks that Makan is the Indian equivalent of Michael, which is
pretty good.
which is nice. But he's in a tag team with Gama Singh, who's like another white dude pretending to be from Pakistan. Oh, man, we got to do that thing where we have a lot of comedians who are from these communities who have not seen wrestling and just show them this and watch them become upset. Anyway,
I don't want to. I don't want to subject Lori Gibbs to that. I don't want to subject a nice mom from the suburbs. Hey, you know how you love your community? Yeah.
No.
Well,
you meant Calgary. No, I meant like Arab people.
Oh.
Watch this and then just be like
much worse. Yeah. Yeah.
The
Do you know how your community has been ostracized in Canada, and Canada acts just because we didn't have slavery, that we were a racial utopia from the moment it was existed? Well, let me present to you Stampede Wrestling from the year of my birth.
Oh, that's even better if you get an American. Because I was thinking of Canadian people where it's like, hey, you know how you're used to microaggressions? Well, here's 17 macroaggressions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm from Pakistan. Anyway, I'm ugly as shit, and I wear a turban on my ass, so when I shit, I don't have to flush. Ha ha, Pakistan. This is how we act.
I'm from Pakistan, so I have a knife because we don't have guns because we're dum-dums. Also, I smell like pee.
That's a good point. This is Ed Whalen here. How does having the smallest dick of all fucking time help you wrestle? From guy from Pakistan.
I'm pretty good, actually. Small dicks are what we all have in Pakistan, which is the capital city of Pakistan. Also, they formed the stable Karachi Vice, which means that Miami Vice was on one television one time with Gamma and a guy named Gary Albright as Vokan Singh.
Gary Albright. So Gary Albright looks like the guy who dies in Bloodsport. If you ever seen Gary Albright, he looks exactly like that guy. He's the guy who dies in Bloodsport with the Harley Davidson cut off. And
yes, he does.
Gary Albright was also from. I do like the idea of like. Can you imagine? I'm trying to think of someone who just looks like. You imagine Brody Lee came out next week and was just like on AEW and was like, I'm fucking from Spain now.
Okay, Gary Albright. Imagine if Stan Hansen and a sofa had a baby. That's what Gary Albright is like. If you looked at Vader and like, your gimmick is that you were an amateur wrestler. It's like, what? Why? And it's like, I don't know, man.
But
like,
he
get away
actually
from me,
was. He just looked like dog shit, so he couldn't really catch on in any of the big companies. But anyway,
because this is the thing that no one talks about, which is the weird thing of like really actual strong people. Like you look at like Mark Henry. Mark Henry can throw a building. But the thing is Mark Henry doesn't look cut because all of his muscles are actually utility farm strike muscle. Like it's deep down in his. He's just solid.
Also, to be that strong, you have to have a lot of fat. Like if you look at every strong man, they're fat. Ripped guys aren't strong. They're like that's like utility. Where it's like, oh, I'm jacked because like I train for cardio and stuff too, not just like, hey, I can lift a house, so I weigh 400 pounds, and if I lift the house twice, then. Like I was hearing today about the guy who had the deadlift world record, and he lifted so John lifted the weight once and then had problems with his nervous system for a whole week afterwards. He had like migraine headache for a whole day because he lifting the weight.
Insane.
Eddie Hall, you can look it up. And he also holds the bar like a dick, where it was like, yeah, well, this makes sense. He lifted 1,000 pounds and then held the bar and was interviewed while locking it out. Which is dope, but then you're like, oh, of course he had a migraine the next day. No one can do that.
Yeah.
Also,
it's so-
where is he from? Where is he from? Stoke-on-Trent.
Oh, yeah, yes. There we go. That's
What
a
else are you
place-
gonna do?
that's
It's
a
raining
place-
again. Time to get strong so I can beat up the earth.
Time to beat up my dad. Stoke-on-Trent is the kind of place where I will become the world's strongest man, and when I am the world's strongest man, I'll finally beat my dad in that fight, even though my dad is dead. Like that
Oh, you
is
just
what
punch
that
the
town
ground.
is. Of course, you go to his grave and you beat up his grave.
See, because when they're dead, they're everywhere. So I punch the air. That's where he is.
Yeah. I punch my wife. That's my dad. I'm my
Dad.
Dad.
Um,
Dad. Like, he's at the seashore just beating up rocks. Dad, you're my dad. You're my dad. You're my dad.
This is something I
Eddie
love
Hall,
because
Eddie
everyone's
Hall,
like,
Daddy
Stampede Wrestling had such prestige, even in the late
hate-
80s.
No, here's the
The
problem with
Dynamite
internet
Kid and Davey Boy Smith
no,
leave
no,
the WWE
no.
and they come back to Stampede Wrestling. They have Chris Benoit there. They have Owen Hart there. They have Brian Pillman there. Who's running the show? Ed Whalen, who Mike Shaw would always bring up, hey, the Calgary Flames suck, and Ed Whalen would then edit those parts out of the TV show because they made him so upset. That's how
I love it.
small
That's the most
town
No.
this fucking thing
That's
was.
just Canadian. That's just like, bear in mind, my brother and I, we are in a family WhatsApp group, and we are the only ones that don't really care about sports.
Mhm.
And there is a particular care Canadians have for certain teams, and that is your hometown hockey team. And then if you're in Ontario, the Buffalo Bills. And my brother wrote yesterday, there was the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. It went to overtime. And right as the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills, my brother just wrote, "Go KC." And my entire family just wrote, "Not appreciated, not funny.
Yeah.
Do not say that." My dad wrote, "Take it back." And I was just
They
like,
had just lost. And
you know what?
heartbreaking, John.
no, it doesn't matter. I hate anyone who's like the NFL. It's like, fuck you. This is an awful organization. This is the NFL is the WWE if Vince McMahon was a really malignant narcissist. Do you understand? Like, it's just sort of like
No, WWE is worse than the NFL because in WWE they make lots of money. Or sorry, in the NFL they make like $20 million a year for concussions. In WWE, it's like, I mean, it's a lot still, but it's like 4. Guy.
Do you understand the conversations that happened around Colin Kaepernick, where it was literally like, here's how we solve this problem. Colin Kaepernick's dead, and it happens on Sunday in the middle of the fucking field at Texas Stadium for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, it's just like,
at least people paying attention now. Like the Leo Rush thing, where remember we were talking about the Leo Rush thing, where
oh my god, I was even
Big
scarier
Swole,
when, yeah, and Leo Rush was like, apologize, and the only wrestling news that I saw pointed that out, by the way, was the Wrestler Review Twitter account. And when we're breaking news ahead of Uncle Dave, the world is off of its access. We're supposed to be like,
because we're not journalists and we have no connections in the industry really, so we can just kind of say things. And like the fact that like, oh yeah, everything's fine now. Me and Tony talked it out, so everything's fine. And he hasn't been on television since. They wrapped up the Dante Martin story with Team Taz without having him on television. He has wrestled exactly one match. He got huge pops the whole match. He's gone from AEW effectively now. It's crazy.
Yeah, but everyone will forget because we have Hook now. Let's be honest. Do you know how fun
Hook is dope?
He's
the
I don't know why
boy that beats you up in the backseat.
I don't know why I like him because I am so not connected to modern wrestling at this point. I just can't. I try.
Everyone liked Hook because he didn't do anything. He was just on TV standing there for like, what was
2
it?
years.
Some guy, yeah, for 2 years, and then it was like, I think it's like the first video that comes up when you put Hook wrestler into YouTube. But essentially his gimmick is just that Simpsons episode where the guy is standing completely still and Homer's like, but I got to see what this guy does. You know he's going to do something cool. He's been just standing there the whole time. And Marge is like, go inside. And as soon as he shuts the door, he goes, yeah. And then kicks all those people where the Yakuza and the Italian mob are having a fight on Homer's front lawn. But that is his gimmick. And there's nothing more fun than... Yeah.
First of all, if you show up to this show ever again and try and school me on late 90s, early 2000s
I
Simpsons
was just
references,
trying to explain it. There's more people listening than just us talking, John.
that is not true.
I was trying to explain it to the listener.
Newsflash, all of the listeners are just Fiverr accounts that I've paid for, all right? I moved to Los Angeles to learn how to inflate my social media.
Well, I'll do it. I'll buy 6,000 followers today. Hey, this guy, Dylan, has 19 million followers and 3 likes on this photo.
My literal favorite is there was a comedian in Canada that, like, in 2010, bought a bunch of followers. And someone used to tweet him almost every day and just said, how many likes and retweets did you get on your tweets today with your 100,000? Like every day. And I was like, you are both so petty, and this is mental illness creating. I love it so
Yes.
much.
I love it. Also, much like a small town, never try. Never try. People will notice and be upset. Anyway, Owen Hart and Mike Shaw had some great chemistry, Ed Whalen said. Also, it was like Ed Whalen, much like Vince at the time, didn't want anything to be really heavy. He just wanted wrestling to be like this fun little thing. So if they did any like huge angles, they would literally edit them off television. So they would do like blood and stuff, and they would just get edited off TV.
It's so wild that they were like, all of these things that would sell money to our company, what do we do? Edit it out. A man with a terrible wig and a definite problem with drinking rye whiskey. He doesn't like it, so we have to listen to what he says. Why? It's like, I don't know. This is Calgary. It's weird.
This is my favorite thing, though. So fans, and this is funny because Pete Zedlacker, who's a comedian, went to a Stampede wrestling show, and you can look these up on YouTube, where like these fans in Calgary would not chant things that were even appropriate for the 80s at the heels.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Google go Owen Hart and then the F word that starts with that ends with my last name, and it's him leading legit children in chanting the most terrifying slur you possibly can. And
the N-word? He's chanting the N-word at someone?
Oh, buddy, he's chanting the F word that has my last name in it. I think that's pretty clear. He's like, chant it at him. And then they're like, and it's the fucked up thing is like, it's fucked up, obviously, but hearing children chant it is insane. It's like, how much different is this than just a footage of like wrestling for the Hitler Youth?
It's funny, I was talking.
Jew! Like fucking crazy.
I was talking with a friend yesterday about another friend who's gone real off the deep end, and they're just talking about the whole thing of, it's like, what are they fighting for to bring back? A time when a child can just like scream a slur at an adult in the street. Like, it's like, what's the goal here?
And this is exactly what happens, is that Mike Shaw would just be walking around Calgary with his wife, and people would chant, and people would yell, just roll down their windows and say, "Go home, Packy." And he's like,
"Oh yeah."
And he was just like, he didn't seem uncomfortable at all. He was like, and this is the crazy thing about wrestling. People would yell that at him. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, I got heat."
Yeah. Mike Shaw.
He doesn't perform with an accent either. He just comes out and he's like, he's from Michigan, so he's like, hey there, your hockey teams are bumpkus, and everything up here tastes like poopers, and everyone's like, this fucking piece of shit.
I'm from Karachi, and I want to let you all know, I think the idea for a tram going through downtown is not planned well.
That's what he would do. He would just complain about Calgary, and he'd be like, the garbage is really bad in this city. The garbage men don't work fast enough, and everyone's like,
scalp him. Make him see his own nose as he dies.
I was on McLeod Trail, and I want to let everyone know the Chinook Center is not as convenient as everyone acts like it is in this city. Get his head!
Circumcise him with a rock.
Head. Yeah. I just want to let you guys know that I am from the Middle East, and in the Middle East, we don't have a bar with a big patio like the Hope and Anchor here in Calgary. You don't? Where do you drink when it's sunny? I just want to let everyone know that during the Calgary Stampede, if we were in Pakistan, you wouldn't be allowed to have two guys having sex with one girl. Then why would we go?
My favorite thing is that when Whalen was trying to sell the show, like, because it went nationwide at some point, Stampede Wrestling, he would try and edit out the racist remarks, which is very funny to me, or just be like, Ed Whalen here, welcome to Stampede Wrestling, and then just like no theme song or noise for any of the show, just him commentating over dead noise. Like, I'm sorry, This is just a string of slurs. There's a man with all the slurs printed out and is handing them out like Christmas carols just so people can yell them at the wrestlers.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know how to explain this, but there is an organization dressed like bedding that is lit across on fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the blue corner, Macken Singh. Beep, 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 beep. 15 minutes passes. All right, that was Macken Singh versus Owen Hart. Now it's time for Ross Hart to have the microphone. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
End of
Do
show.
not adjust your sets, and we are sorry if anyone believes that we're signaling SOS in Morse code. I am Ed Wayland. I'm mostly rye whiskey and Tim Hortons coffee. I'd like to let
exactly.
you all know
Here's our
that
commercial for Speed Stick, the official deodorant of yelling stuff at people you don't like.
Yeah. We are brought to you by Speed Stick and Jollibee. Jollibee, the fast food organization from Korea for people that don't believe Koreans should be allowed to immigrate. Welcome.
Jollibee is
Stampede
Filipino, and you know that.
Oh, 1,000 apologies. It is Filipino. I always 1,000. Welcome to Jollibee presents Stampede Wrestling. I don't know where Jollibee's from, but I don't like that they're here.
Welcome for it's brought to you by Jollibee, which is confusing because I'm sure that's a heel. That's a heel
Yeah.
we'll introduce. A guy who likes Filipino food. You don't even have to be. You've just been to the Philippines and talk about how nice it was. You're evil. Anyway, let's take a break and we'll come back with Mike Shaw's time in WCW, WWE, and then he fucking dies.
Fucking kill me and then let's all have fucking sex. Ladies and gentlemen, the year is 1930 dirty. Ladies and gentlemen, Stampede Wrestling. What a time it is to be in Stampede Wrestling because he's there. He's being racist with Ed Whalen. He's hanging out with Brian Pillman. They are doing drugs, baby. He won he lost the title to Owen Hart in Medicine Hat. What the hell? Basically, he just beat up Owen Hart a bunch and then got jerked off by Stu Hart while the entire crowd just yelled racial slurs that are really bad in England, especially. And then eventually he left. He also met his wife, Kelly, in Calgary, who I assume is a very understanding and sad woman. He had 2 kids, Josh and Amanda. He committed himself to being a family man in wrestling, which is really crazy. He then left Stampede Wrestling only when it closed, and he received the opportunity to be Norman the Lunatic in WCW in 1989. Now, for those of you that know your history, know that
he's in Stampede Wrestling for 8 years, and the thing that you gleam off of Mike Shaw
fucking crazy is he just wants to have a job.
Exactly. And the thing is like, oh, he's just in Calgary and the surrounding area. Like he just wants to be a family man who, spices things up because sometimes he can have a couple fucking pops, and that is not a euphemism for beer. He does mean Coca-Colas.
I want a couple
hotel and watch TV.
I would like a couple of Diet Coca-Colas. Ask me no questions. It's like, what? And it's like, yeah, man, that's hot.
Big weekend coming up. I'm going to Medicine Hat, and there's a place that
but literally,
take out wings. Like, yeah.
This is the point I want to make. Of all of the people that are so exactly like comedians in wrestling, Mike Shaw is the most one, because this is something that I have dealt with in Canadian comedy for my entire career, which is the people that live in Calgary are like, why would I go to Los Angeles, man, when I can live in Calgary and I make 60 fucking grand every fucking year? Because in Christmas I go up to the fucking where the fucking riggers are, and I work for the you head on over to Great Slave Lake, Ontario, and then what you do, bud, is you fucking, I don't know provinces anyway, so you fucking head up there and you get fucking paid because you work for all of the oil companies that are owned by Christian men. They don't let you have fucking peelers no more, and that is legitimately something I've been told by a lot of people that later then got drunk and told me how if they had moved to England, they'd be more successful than me.
Whatever. No one wants to, and it does take a lot. Like, you've started over 3 times, and that's a lot of beat the balls. Most people are just like, fuck it, I'm done. I fucking make 60 G's a year is fine, and also no one's really paying attention.
For the record, there's no way those guys, like, it's one of those things where the guys that have said, there are definitely people making that money in Calgary as comedians and much more, because there's a lot of money there to be made, and they need to, and those companies need to spend it on entertainment. But the guys that are talking to me, they've heard someone made 60 grand, they're making 30 grand, and are now working at a gas station. There's one guy who once told me anyone who goes to New York is a F word followed by Dylan's last name.
Whoa.
I stay here because I do more comedy. I'll never forget this. It goes, I do more comedy than Louis C.K. I'm better at comedy than Louis C.K. And that guy works at a gas station. And Louis C.K. in the time he said that has gotten canceled and still gotten his career back because no one really gets canceled. And that guy is still working at a gas station.
Weird glasses now and goes to stand. Whatever. Anyway, we're talking about the only wrestler who I'm sure hasn't been canceled. That is Mike Shaw. And how do you
only been
get
canceled?
You
portray Norman the Lunatic in WCW in 1989. By the way, Norman the Lunatic is the other character that is so clearly WCW. Like, we need to get the. So 1989 is when JCP, NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions becomes WCW, becomes Ted Turner owned wrestling company. It's in 1989 is when that happens. It's when Jim Crockett sells. You'll notice that as soon as that happens, a bunch of very, very interesting characters appear that are like, what if someone with a massive brain injury tried to make the WWF? It's like, we need characters for kids. Get me a mentally ill lunatic patient and two guys with bells covered on them. And you're like, what? And the Ding Dongs get all the shit. But Norman the Lunatic is the weirder character. It was like, he's a guy who's crazy. He's from a mental institution. He's for kids. And it's like, for eating kids? No.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the other thing about Norman the Lunatic. When you look at the character, it's like, it's not a bad name. It's just the way they did it was very, very bad. Like, it makes sense. Like, you have the crazy person. And honestly, the fact that he wasn't just like throw a dart at the board, and when it hits a developing nation, just say they're savages is pretty impressive, to be real, for the late 80s. So it's just like a dude is a lunatic, and then obviously he's crazy at first. Some people beat him, and then you can make him, he turns on his handlers, and you get a nice, strong baby face who can lose a lot to heels. Like, it's a kind of a tried and true method, but it's just like, it's Jim Herd. And the other thing is, and this is an interesting thing, is like, he went from a wrestler to an entertainer, and he says just at the time he felt like he was becoming a good entertainer, that's when they essentially stopped the character wholesale.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of situation, but I disagree with him entirely. I don't know. This is one of those dark spots in wrestling. I've not really watched any pay-per-views from this time.
Wait a minute. You didn't watch WCW for when you were 3 years old to 5 years old?
I mean, no. And I have tried to go back to watch them because you're like, God knows I fucking love this shit. It is so bad.
Isn't it so funny that this year, too, is like, was it 89 is like, Dave Meltzer's like, it's like the best year of best in-ring year of any mainstream wrestling organization, and that's a year where it's like Theodore Long is coming out with a key to Norman the Lunatic. And keep in mind this: everyone hated Norman the Lunatic. Sabu essentially had the exact same gimmick, and people fucking loved him because he just wrestled like you should if you're taken out of a straitjacket and then put in the ring. He fucking ran, he killed people, and then he went back into his fucking Hannibal Lecter thing.
But here's the big difference is that they never said, like, they never came out and fully said, he's
Sabu
fucking
the crazy boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They instead just are like, Sabu, watch out for that Sabu. You know what I mean? Like, it's that difference of like, it's the weird thing with wrestling, which is as long as you don't fully say it, every wrestling fan's like, well, look, you know what I mean? Like, they've never come out and been like, and please welcome to the stage, black people are bad and we hate them. Like, and like, that's what a lot of characters have implied, but like, they've never come out perfectly and say it. Like, if they did that, Norman the Lunatic's name would have been like, R word, and that's bad, so it's good to be bad to this guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they're basically saying. Like,
he was
like,
no Evad Sullivan.
That's right. Evad was, if anything, Evad was another attempt by WCW. WCW was very obsessed for 6 years of, we need a character for kids, and we need those kids to be suffering from some sort of developmental delay to relate to this character. And it's like,
yeah,
what? Who told you about children? And it's like, I don't know.
And then WWE in 2004 was like, we'll do it, and we'll actually do it, motherfuckers. Eugene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, you thought Norman the Lunatic was weird?" And they were like, "No, we did. Why are you doing this?" And it's like, "Well, because we finish what we start. We finish what we start." He portrayed Norman as a baby face. They
Came
tried
as a
to do a
heel,
bunch of
turned babyface because he turned on Teddy Long.
Exactly. He turned on Teddy Long, and this is do-rag Teddy Long. This is weirdly chubby Teddy Long. This is one of the many times where you're like, God, I love Teddy Long. I wonder why he was held back. And then you watch any shoot interview with Teddy Long, and he's like, oh, you want to know who called me the N-word? All right, it's easier if I just list the people that didn't. Ron Simmons. That's it.
And this is the other thing where it's like classic 90s wrestling, which I do think we could use a bit of, where Norman the Lunatic turns into Trucker Mike. Just one day. Sorry, Trucker Norm. Mike would have made sense because like that's his name, but fuck it. Trucker Norm. And it was in memory of his late father, not his real late father. It's just in storyline he had a dead father that was a trucker, and this was one of Ole Anderson's, which I really like. It's like Norman the Lunatic is a dumb character. How about this? You like trucks? Like, who wants to keep on living as a trucker? Like, truckers don't.
It's better than that.
Or like, I'm Trucker Steve. Go for it.
Do you like? Are you a trucker? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love trucks. How about this? Your dad was a trucker, but he's dead now. Well, why are we doing this? And it's like, that's it. And you're like, what? Okay. Like, it's like Mike Shaw is that weird. Like, Mike Shaw just seems like he hated teaching so much. He's just happy. No, like he's just happy not to be a teacher. So it's just like, you're going to portray a bucket of shit that's bad. And he's like, do I have to teach kids while doing it? It's like, no. It's like, all right, get after it.
I thought he said at the beginning, he basically was there. This is funny. We didn't even mention that he got into pro wrestling through a professional softball team that he was on, which is one of the most crazy sentences. Hey, you don't like running that much. Do you want to be a wrestler? Hell,
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Is that true?
It was a pro softball team. Yeah, he's a pro softball team. But one of the guys was like, "You're fat. You should wrestle." And he's like, "Fuck yeah, let's fucking wrestle, bitch."
I mean, wrestling.
And he also actually said that he'd rather have just started teaching and kept on teaching and got tenure rather than do wrestling afterwards.
Hilarious. Of course he did.
He never liked wrestling.
Then why did he keep doing it? Why did he stay in what has truly got to be one of the most uncomfortable places? There's not like he was making. If working in Stampede Wrestling means you make more money working as a teacher, then we need to give teachers way more money.
100% though, it does. 100% it would. Like, the thing about having a job like that is that you get paid in the like union shit. Like the whole thing of like, that's only a good job because you're a teacher and you have a family, so your entire family gets dental. If you're just like one person, like he is throughout the 80s, then why the fuck would you be a teacher where you grew up when you could go see the world? And by that, I mean Calgary.
Yeah. It's not like Calgary's that different than the fucking Michigan Peninsula. You know what I mean? It's like, well, here it's snowy in September. Like, he's like, what the fuck, Mike? I'm going to say it. Mike Shaw, he's a bit of a buffoon. And you know what you do with
I like the idea of a guy who just going, yeah, sure, and that's his whole life. And also, for sure, he probably stepped off the plane in Atlanta. Someone called him a slur, and he's like, all right, well, it's just hotter here.
Yep, good to be home.
No homesickness because
I hate that he's like, I always hated being a wrestler, and it's like, dude, fuck, yeah,
he didn't say
you could leave.
He just
did. He's like,
he didn't say he hated it. He just like was a wrestler. He did it like anyone would do anything. He's like Sid Vicious.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, but Sid Vicious also annoys me. He's like, it's either wrestling or farm chemicals, and it's just like, well, make a fucking choice, you little bitch.
Well, those are the people that annoy you, where it's like they just forget the thing they're doing isn't like inhaling noxious gases for 10 hours a day like some people have to. Like, yeah, you play pretend that you're a fucking crazy person, but at the end of the day, that's so much better than like cleaning up human shit. So maybe fucking don't be such a turd ass. Anyway, he went on with Jim Herd. He said he didn't like. He was there for Jim Herd and Ole Anderson, which is so funny.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like, I've seen Terminator. I saw the last two. Like,
Yeah, it's like he's basically he was in WCW at a time where if you went even close to the bathroom, someone who's eaten way too much red meat's coming out of it going, nearly fucking dropped my wallet in there. Smells like death. Like, yeah, just like, oh God. Oli, did you somehow have your period? It smells like period shits in here. I actually had a chemical injected into my butt, so it smells worse than period shit, so I'm better than women. And you're like, why would you do I'm the Rock. I'm the Rock. You know that Ole Anderson doesn't have dementia? They just declared he has dementia because he's called Dwayne the Rock Johnson. That means I was Ole Anderson the Rock. That means I get half of his money. And they're like, you don't. He's like, you better declare me legally insane or I'm going to try and beat up Dwayne Johnson. And they're like, well, all right, well, we're doing this, but like, you don't need to do that. He's like, I do though, Dwayne the Ole Anderson.
I have something to prove, and that is that I am my own dad. I don't have a dad. I created me by fucking me. I am self-reproducing. There's 3 Ole Andersons in the toilet.
I don't have a dad, but here's what I do have: a son that I will fuck. So then I become my dad. I am Ole Anderson. Welcome to the Bible with Ole Anderson. And on the first day, God and I fucked, and that made the earth because I am the Rock. Only the Rock Anderson. Day 2, that's when Ric Flair has got a banana nose and speaks to women. Then he showed up.
Mm-hmm. Also, Ole Anderson's deep dicking fucking some of the staff at TBS, which is super funny, where it's like everyone else is in a suit
weird.
And corporate speak, and then Ole Anderson just comes in with a handful of chicken wings and goes, "They tried to charge me extra for the container, fucking losers," and just eats them. And he's like, chewing the bones, cuts my throat, makes it strong. Do you want to know some slurs I invented?
Pardon me, girl. I wonder if you've ever had a man who only wears suspenders have sex with your vagina.
I wear suspenders even though I got no pants. I just attach the fucking clips to my pubes. Impressed? I am more than anything. Haha, nice. While you were talking, I got a piss boner.
Yeah, I just want to let you know every date we have starts with me taking a shit in your bathroom. No flush.
Every time we go for dinner together, I'm going to say something was wrong with the meal, so there's a bit of a discount. No restaurant twice, baby.
Also, when I get back to your house, I'll be checking on how my shit has come along. And if it's at the stage where your house smells like a barnyard and it looks like some sort of thick beef broth, we've had a good date, baby. I gotta say this: Ole Anderson is the only wrestler that I guarantee if he heard us saying all these things, he'd be like, "Those boys get it. They get it."
There you go.
Yeah, you figured it out.
Except he'd want us to say more slurs. Anyway, he goes in GWF. Mike Shaw does. Then he goes to Mexico. This is where he's Aaron Grundy, and this is my favorite thing when you talk about all people who look.
What was it? By the way, the Aaron Grundy gimmick is he was just a San Diego tourist who got lost in Mexico. That's what his gimmick was.
Ooh, big buildings here.
Can I have my passport back?
His real gimmick is he's the brother of Solomon Grundy, which is what I was touching on. Was like, if you really like the territory wrestling, every territory gimmick was like, it's that guy's fucking brother. Like, there was no Hulk Hogan's brother, Bill Hogan. It comes, you know what I mean? Like that. They make Vince McMahon. That's why everyone's like, Vince was trying all these new things. Like, no one was related. What? This guy's character is not. Here's how you do it, the Big Boss Man. You bring him in, and he's Earthquake's brother. Yeah, like you just fucking everyone is related.
Yeah. Okay. You're Axe and Smash's cousin and Macho Man Randy Savage's stepson. So that makes you a member of
Hatchet Bam, that's your name.
Bigelow's Survivor Series team because you have diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just talk about Bastion Booger in this episode? We've been literally teasing the balls for the entire fucking time. Now let's just give the fucking cum monkeys what they want.
That was the last thing before Bastion Booger was Mexico.
I know.
So
I'm being a petulant little.
Jesus Christ.
That's not the last thing before Bastion Booger. The last thing before Bastion Booger is Friar Ferguson. What happened to Vince? This shows Vince McMahon was distracted by the steroid trial in that he was like, I don't know, get me a monk. It's like, what? Why a monk? And as I said before, I don't know.
He was the mad monk. He received negative feedback from the church, so they dropped the character immediately.
Yeah, and they did the opposite of a monk, which was a guy who has diarrhea.
But how are you getting negative feedback for, like, I thought it was just like mean Friar Tuck when I was a kid, but once again, that's Mike Shaw being the man, just saying yes to whatever.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'd love to do it. And you're like, what? Why? And he's like, shut up. That's why. And you're like, all right.
Yeah, your character is literally your Humpty Dumpty, the man. We push you from the top of the arena. You fall down in an egg. Don't know if you're going to survive the fall. Every single night, you open up. If you survive, you wrestle the match. And I'm going to say you lose because you're very injured because you fell.
Yeah. Also, like, it's just Bastion Booger. I want to ask you this question.
Okay.
What do you think they thought was going to happen? This is one of those ones where it's like, it's like the thing of, like, even Muhammad Hassan, you can be like, well, I could see how they thought this wasn't going to be how this was interpreted, even though it was definitely this is how this was going to end. With Bastion Booger, it was like, what was your plan? Was your plan just selling a bunch of stained T-shirts, and you're like, we recoup on our loss? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's one of those things where part of the reason why wrestling dipped so badly in 95 is because anyone who gave their time to watching wrestling in 93 was rewarded with a man eating a bunch of wet food. Like, it's so odd.
Well, keep in mind, this is also 1993, where Vince is like, no, Randy Savage, you're too old to be on TV. Here's this new character. He's got a tiny little dick and there's shit on it.
Yeah, like, you understand? Like, he's literally like, Randy, the only thing more disgusting than you being on television as a wrestler is the following. Like, this is the crazy thing is Vince McMahon, one of the keys to WCW winning the Monday Night Wars for 83 weeks, which no one talks about and is really weird, was Ric Flair and Macho Man Randy Savage are the reason why Nitro started beating Raw in the ratings. That was the feud that popped it, because they did the smartest thing, which was Vince McMahon never finished this feud. We'll just finish it. And everyone was like,
thing AEW does, where it's like WCW understood that a lot of people had seen WWF TV, so they used WWF TV as canon, worked it into their own storylines, and finished the story well, which is, if people watch wrestling, people like wrestling. Wrestling's just like one of those things. Anyway,
well, it's basically what the wrestling is. It's very rare for people to learn in wrestling, particularly the WWE, is that wrestling's baseball for people that can't catch. So they follow all of it. And the reason why I pick baseball is like, my dad is a baseball fan the way I'm a wrestling fan, which is like, when the major league's not playing, Dad, are you listening to weird Mexican radio? And he's like, that's right. The Baja Creepers are taking on the Tijuana Tigers, and I care about the Baja Creepers. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, what the fuck? But that's the thing with wrestling fans, where it's just like
one sport, and you're like, I fucking know what's going on in this sport.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a reason why Jim Cornette owns a house, because when he can't get a job, he's just like, all right, give me the phone. Hello, Tony Anthony. We're moving to Knoxville. Like that, you have to understand how weird wrestling is. And even wrestling fans put their head in their hands when you show them Bastion Booger and are like, why didn't we stop then? We had the opportunity to stop, but we just kept going.
It's an interesting thing, because it's like everyone always says how much Vince likes poops and farts and dinkies, and this is his real first time being like, I'm making a fucking character that's like, it's for kids, so his last name is Booger, but like, if this was the Attitude Era, his name would have been like huge shit. And
oh my god, do you understand if he had been in the Attitude Era, the Godfather's hose would have been covered in shit.
Well, I just mean, he would, like, every vignette would have been like, instead of seeing his face, it would have been like him just rubbing his cockhead on the toilet seat.
Like, ooh, I like the gunk. I like the gunk in the hole. Huge shit.
Yeah, of course. Also, it would have been Terry Funk who has that fucking gimmick. You understand? Like, it would have been so wildly embarrassing.
He would have outbid WCW for Scott Hall just so he could have mush my cock against the toilet ban.
Dylan's
Anyway,
Wi-Fi connection
Bastion
cut out,
Booger,
but
this
no,
is
what's
the-
crazy? I still got Bastion Booger's the best. Best appearance of the Royal
Nice.
Rumble. He ate too much and can't get to the ring. Best appearance at the Survivor Series. Too fat to get in the ring. That's the thing. Never
Also,
forget. Why isn't Bastion
and-
Booger in the Royal Rumble? He ate too much. Welcome to wrestling. We are in hell.
Well, I also remember that also that he would eat the WWE ice cream bars on the way to the ring.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh, that's
he would
good
eat other
stuff.
people's ice cream bars on the way to the ring, which is dope. And sorry, just getting lost here. So this is what you touched on, like what did they think was going to happen with the character? This was the really interesting thing is one thing you can say unequivocally, and that I think they need to go back to, and that wrestling, and this is why people like AEW so much, is that it just does basic things, and they used to do very basic things back then, such as no matter if the character is, you know, Tijuana Jim, who's always drunk, he wins his first matches. Bastion Booger literally lost his first match.
Yeah.
He lost his first match, so it's like in 1993, you're already like, this guy's a fucking loser. And
Yeah,
then,
this guy's there's no way that, And your new Intercontinental Champion, a guy who smells like KFC pasta salad. Guess again.
and I didn't even remember Friar Ferguson. It's like, if this dude had also been Mantar, which it's possible he could have been.
No one has yet to be able to reveal who actually portrayed Mantar. No one
I
knows.
guarantee you it was the Brooklyn Brawler covered in pillows. It's just the Brooklyn Brawler sent to the ring in a bunch of pillows.
Here's the crazy thing. I've never looked up who played Mantar. I'm looking it up right now. His name was Mike Halleck. And here, by the way, inside the
Can you imagine that? You wrestled for all these years. Like, imagine you just finally get your fucking chance on a sitcom, and it's like, oh man, finally I'm on a sitcom. What is it? Oh, it's actually like a right-wing sitcom. You play a guy who's a left-wing person, and all your lines are about how you're too weak to lift a desk, and then someone hits you with pies for 10 minutes.
Mantar's last appearance in the WWF was during the lumberjack match between Psycho Sid and Diesel. He then returned briefly as Goldust's unnamed bodyguard against the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior overpowered and body slammed him, and then he left the WWF. He briefly appeared in WCW on Monday Nitro in 1997, defeating Damien 666, who was actually, oh my God, that actually was just a wrestler named Damien 666. Good
Yeah,
times.
he's a Mexican guy.
He's a Mexican guy, and then he wrestled some independents in 1998, and that is about it. And he now has type 2 diabetes. Wikipedia is wild.
You're
Why
really
did
set
you put
me up
that?
for that one. Now,
Why the
Wikipedia can be wrong because there's go.
I mean, first of all, I just want to know the idea that anyone included that in Mantar's.
Now he has type 2 diabetes. You could just write that in. Like, that's the
Yeah.
thing. There was a guy who was like in the UFC who the focus of the interview was supposed to be his judo brown belt because he never used judo in his fights, and he's like, well, you're a judo brown belt, that's crazy. And the guy was like, no, I'm not. And then the interview was just awkward because it was like, well, I had like 7 questions about who your sensei was, and he's like, didn't have one. No, I learned to fight because I loved heroin, and then I stopped. And they're like, okay, goodbye. Anyway, he
Show over, dream over.
but he's the first, not the first, but Bastion Booger is one of those like lower mid card jobber to the stars type guys. I saw him win a lot because in Canada all we got was WWF Superstars, where it was like a huge match if Coco Beware was there.
Oh yeah, it's so crazy. And by the way, never forget, with the like 95, 96, like Superstars is still more of the A show than Raw. Like, it's
buddy, he doesn't even make it to 95. He's out in 94.
Oh yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he's out. Like, basically, Bastion Booger's time is when basically, are we no longer pushing Lex Luger as part of the championship picture? Someone tell Mike Shaw he's fired. What? Why are you doing this? I said,
well, it's clear they had plans for the Friar Ferguson character. That stops, and they're like, oh, fuck, I don't know. Get him back on TV as like a guy. First of all, he dresses too tight. Second of all, backstage, I get to call him fat and tell him he's a loser. Third of all, he gets out there and just has a fucking bunch of fluids coming out of him. Like, it's like, if they could have rigged it up so every fluid was just seeping out of his body, like he's pissing and shitting himself while he's just so much snot coming out, they would have absolutely done it.
He quickly,
and I like that he was evil because he was just like, this guy fucking eats. Like, you can tell Vince McMahon wants to be fat. He just, because it's like those are the people that fucking hate fatties.
Does he?
Where it's like,
is that what he wants?
Oh fuck! Like, I guarantee Vince McMahon was fat for like 3 weeks. It was a great 3 weeks, but then he just looked in the mirror and he was like, "Then Daddy wins," and then just
I know. I guarantee you,
jacked ever since.
No, this Vince McMahon had some toast with butter on it one time, and then has just been like, since then has just been like, I'm not what Daddy wanted.
Yeah, he had toast with butter on it, then picked up a gun and shot the bread and yelled "never again" into the sky.
I'm not what Daddy wanted.
But this is the great thing about Bastion Booger, about Mike Shaw, is that he keeps the Bastion Booger gimmick after leaving the WWF.
Why?
So he can wrestle on indies, and he does that for 5 years before retiring from wrestling. He has a bit of a comeback in 2006 to 2009, where he revisits wrestling for a hot minute, this is also a time where you're getting a lot of early 90s and a lot of 80s nostalgia in the mid 2000s. So he totally does. He for sure started getting calls about Bastion Booger and was like, yeah, 100%, I'll do this for extra money on the weekends. Does it, stops. And of course, the real September 11th that's when he dies at 2003, 53 years old, dies of a pulmonary embolism, which I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's probably related to,
I believe that's a blood clot. I believe that's a blood clot somewhere in the body getting trapped in the lungs, and you choke to death.
That doesn't sound fun.
Vince McMahon called in a bomb threat to the funeral because, quote unquote, Mike Shaw should be disappointed in himself for how much he weighed when he died.
Yeah, Vince McMahon showed up to the funeral and asked for all the money he had paid Mike Shaw when he was Bastion Booger back.
Yeah, Vince McMahon showed up at the funeral, was very upset that he wasn't being buried in his Bastion Booger gear. I thought you wanted him to look his best. He looks disgusting up there.
Yeah, he shows up with a exact dummy of himself to be placed on top of Mike Shaw, so he's pinning him for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, bear in mind that Vince McMahon. By the way, if I am to believe anything from what Vince McMahon's, oh my God, if I'm to believe anything about the Dark Side of the Ring, Vince McMahon shows up at every wrestler's funeral.
Oh yeah, he wants them to keep the fucking ring.
And he's hard.
I can't help but think I played a small part in this because I did. Ha 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 ha. I'm going to walk through the crowd now. If anyone cries, I'm fucking yelling at them. Anyway,
I'm going to walk through the crowd and I'm going to be wearing.
I'm going to start it off. My favorite thing about Mike Shaw is that he said yes to absolutely everything that was offered
100%. That's 100%. The best part about Mike.
There's a bad thing. I love talking about these guys.
Mike Shaw is the embodiment of the improviser's code.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
you always say yes. Here's the worst thing about Mike Shaw. He's dead. Because I guarantee you, Mike Shaw would be in AEW right now as part of Team Nightmare. Like, if Tony Khan, like, do you understand that Arn Anderson,
Mike Shaw just fucking killing it?
Right next to Arn Anderson. You want to know who would make Cody a face that runs the place? If he walked out with Arn Anderson and Mike Shaw as his heavies, what are they going to do? They're not going to attack their opponents, but Arn Anderson's going to ask you if you constructed your patio and point out all the dry rot you have. Well, Mike Shaw is going to be very critical of your wife's cooking.
Yeah.
These deviled eggs.
Eating all of it, eating it so fast and then saying he didn't like it.
Yeah. I like real paprika on my deviled eggs. Also, you're out of deviled eggs.
Did you know that I had to add salt from my pockets to it? And there was lint in the salt, too, so it's not good.
Yeah. Do you have any Tapatio for this wine? Like, you want to put hot now? You want to put hot sauce in the wine? Yeah. I don't know what we're doing.
I got an idea for your character. You're called Fat and you're a loser. How about this? You're called Fat Loser, Bitch Face, ha ha ha, or Bastion Booger.
That's how he pitched it. I guarantee he's like, what if I beat you up until you're dead? And he's like, no. All right. Just make this.
Okay, Sunny comes out and she's turned on because someone else, there's a man and there's a Chris Candido turns her on. So then we bring you out and she yells, ew, gross, dry now. And then that's your character, dry now.
Yeah. Your character is the opposite of a good. All right. Okay. Welcome to the Attitude Era. You're Bastion Booger. You walk to the ring. Sable commits suicide. The whole audience commits suicide. I kill myself. How do you feel about it?
But this is the other thing, is he passes away in 2010, and I would bet my dick and my balls that if he doesn't pass away, then like Chikara.
100%. 100%. 100%. He's coming
Bastion
back.
Booger
Oh no,
versus Glacier, or Bastion Booger versus Mantar, and it's like you have this crazy great show, and then the headliners Bastion Booger versus Mantar. I mean, obviously, R.I.P. Mr. Shaw. You had a great life, and honestly, it's really good when you talk about a guy who was in wrestling for 20 years exactly, like Mike Shaw, who has such a varied experience in professional wrestling versus people like, no, I'm just saying like people like.
Oh, I was just getting ready to sing the Bastion Booger theme
now.
song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what it was. It's what it was. Yeah. Bucket of cum. Drink the bucket. Drink the bucket. Yeah. It also has.
Can you do that? Can you just make shit noises? Make shit noises?
Oh God! Never again, Pizza Hut buffet.
What's weird is the Bastion Booger theme song actually has the same lyrics as the Ass Man song. I'm an ass man.
I'm an ass man.
Well, I'm sure that like
I like to kick it. I like to lick it. Go ahead.
Vince's idea was just him trying to like, you can have a sponsorship with us, Arby's. And they're like, oh, what does that look like? And they played Bastion Booger's theme song, and he's just blaming it all on Arby's. He's like, yeah, get it? Because you're for fucking disgusting pieces of shit.
Yeah. Gross. Throw up in your dick. Throw up on your
Although I
dick.
guess Arby's is what Vince McMahon thinks a taco is, just a bunch of roast beef on a bun.
Yeah. Vince McMahon would love
You guys
Arby's.
sell tacos? That's Taco Bell.
No, you guys are tacos. You're roast beef, a bun, and then you eat it alone.
Yeah. Okay, I have to know code. Do we this episode is so long. I now have to go directly from talking about Bastion Booger
Have fun.
to therapy.
Next
I'm about
week,
to get
who
tired.
we're gonna do? No, we gotta pick who we're doing. Just give me 1 sec. We gotta go wrestler review admin. We are very together on this show. We fucking who do you want to do? Gobbledygooker, Trish Stratus, Rhino, Mike Graham, or Mabel?
Mike Graham, baby. Let's go to the
Mike
floor.
Graham is next week.
Let's head to the Florida territory and be sad.
All right, sweet. Mike Graham is next week. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Thank you very much if you've given to Patreon. You guys really are improving our lives very steadily. And we have videos, chat. I think as of this, we have our third just chat up on the Patreon feed, video and audio. And our John Morrison episode will be up on the Patreon feed as well. What a fun talk that was. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great evening. Bye-bye. Or evening, day, whatever. Dishes. Enjoy it.
Enjoy us. Only join the Patreon. If you haven't joined the Patreon, you're my enemy. Goodbye.